I had built up a pretty good fan base in my hometown, and I was having a CD release party, and I had a sold out show, like 350 people. It was packed, and I was playing with this amazing band, and all my dreams were coming true. And I was on that stage that night, not in the right mind. I was completely, screwed up. Like I wasn't myself. I was really a fraud. I remember standing on that stage thinking, oh, look, I'm just going to pretend I'm happy, but really right now inside I'm like completely in pain. This is awful. And I did the show, and after the show, all my friends got together at a house party to celebrate me and my amazing sold out show. And I just stayed in the parking lot in my car that night. I didn't go into the party, and I was just like partying by myself. And it was that night that I decided this is going to be the last time I ever do this ever in my life, ever again.
That's Sarah Smith, and this is The Stories That Brought You Here, a podcast featuring people from all different walks of life, discovering the stories that brought them to the point that they're at in their lives right now. I'm your host, Chris Wakaluk. Well, oh boy, do we have a great little interview for you today. Sarah Smith is a singer-songwriter who has been performing and playing music most of her life. She'll describe how she first got inspired singing as a child in church, and the musical journey she embarked on, eventually leading to spending a decade with the proto-Punk band, The Joys. A busy and creative solo career would follow, which has included multiple album releases and regularly touring Germany. In this interview, Sarah is going to share many fascinating stories about all aspects of her life, including some personal challenges she faced along the way, and how she's come out the other side through surrender and service. Just a quick note that there is some subject matter in this interview that could be upsetting to some listeners, so please take care when listening. Before we get started, there's something I'd like to share with you, and that's a service I'm providing to help people record their audio memoirs. If you've ever considered recording your own or a family member's life story, but put it off because you're not sure how to do it, this could be of interest to you. In 2019, I began working privately with individuals to capture their personal history and preserve it for current and future family members to enjoy. The process involved in creating an audio memoir begins with preliminary interviews so we can become acquainted. I've found it deeply important to spend a significant amount of time with people to build rapport and also to work at discovering what parts of a person's life they would like to share. This time also allows me an opportunity to ask questions to get a deeper understanding of why particular stories are meaningful, to draw out more nuanced and specific information when we record. Using professional recording equipment to record in the comfort of your own home, we can spend the time necessary to really cover all the areas of your life that you would like your loved ones to hear. Lastly comes the editing phase. Using creative editing techniques, I can help to create a crisp, easy to listen to, flowing narrative that can be enjoyed for many generations to come. The entire recording will be in your own voice, just as you would find in a written biography or memoir. If you're at all interested in the service or have any questions, there's a couple of different ways to get a hold of me. You can text me at 250-857-3091, and you can also reach me via email at myaudiomemoir@outlook.com. That's all one word, myaudiomemoir@outlook.com. You'll also find a link in the show notes that you can just click on, and it will direct you to the email address. Something that I've come to learn over the years is that everyone has stories worth preserving. What are yours? Thank you very much for listening to that. So now, first a little bit of music, and then my interview with Sarah Smith.
My first solo tour actually took me to Germany, and I had been playing all over Ontario, making my mark in the scene in Ontario. And this gentleman took notice, and he heard about this girl from London, Sarah Smith. And he himself had grown up in London as a musician, and he moved to Germany in his mid-age to work on Cats, the theater show in Hamburg. So he had been in Germany for about 25 years, and he kept hearing about this London artist, Sarah Smith. Sarah Smith. He said, I want to bring you over to Germany. And I have this producer friend that I think that you would love to work with. I think he's just an amazing guy. He's really spiritual and connected, and I think you guys would get along really well. So I went there to play music in some cafes and to meet Pat Anthony, this producer. He had worked with Usher, Michael Jackson. The guy was really quite a phenomenon to me. And touring out there was really interesting. First of all, I didn't really play a lot of solo shows. I usually had a band with me. So it was weird to be there alone. I was still, under 40 at some point, like 35 or 36 or something. To me, that sounds like a little baby child now. So I didn't really know exactly what I was doing there, but I tried to take lead from my friend Kenny, who brought me there. And I tried to just learn and soak it all up. I really enjoyed playing to people that didn't speak English. I had to learn how to speak kind of slower, pronounce my words better when I was talking in between the songs. And I had to learn how to, introduce myself in a way that people would know what I was saying to them. And it was a really interesting experience. Musically, the European audience, they listen differently to music, I feel. I feel they have a real pop sense to them. And the producer wanted to create more pop music using my original music. And at first, it was really strange for me to hear my, little guitar strums turn into like Britney Spears songs. But I kind of went with it. I rolled with it. And I was able to find my own unique sound within his parameters. It was really, really interesting.
Okay. You said that you were there by yourself and you were used to playing with a full band. And so how did that component play into everything? Just going up on stage solo versus having a band back behind you?
It was absolutely nerve-wracking. It was scary. I didn't feel confident about my guitar playing in particular. I always thought my voice was decent, but my guitar playing was just like so many years behind. I never took lessons. I taught myself. I don't even know if I could play on time. So I knew that that was my weakness, and I really worked hard while I was there to get better. And Pat actually showed me some really great tricks. He was the first person that showed me how to just play downbeats, like chugs, bom, 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 instead of bom, down, down, bom, down, down, bom, down. He taught me like downbeats, keeping rhythms that way. He taught me some bar chord changes. He taught me some really cool things with guitar, and it gave me a little more confidence. And I was able to put a little more confidence behind my instrument rather than just into my voice.
Okay. And how long were you over there on that first tour for it?
I think it might have been a while. I think it was about a month. I think Kenny had set me up with some gigs, some cafes and coffee shops and some little halls. And at one point, Kenny put a band together as well for me out there. He was the drummer. Kenny's brother Ian, also from London, Ontario, he played bass. Pat played guitar. We played as a band as well, played a few shows as a band. And I remember the first time I played in Germany, where I remember kind of feeling like maybe I'm a rock star here, is they had me in this little town hall in this little town called Erla. I think there's probably maybe 300 people in the town. And I was the big event of the month. And all these people came out and they were just standing there. I'd never played to a listening room. And this was like a hall where they were just standing there. In Germany, they don't like to give seats a lot of these times. They just want people to stand and drink and have fun and dance. So they're all standing there. They're staring at me. All the lights are on me. I have this band that they threw together for me. And I thought, man, this is awesome. And it was scary and it was a challenge, but I killed it. We had some great reviews in the newspapers the next day. And from there, I created my first little bit of fan base in Germany. And it really just snowballed from there.
Amazing. You created a fan base in Germany. And so how did that evolve as the years went on for you?
As the years went on, I think it evolved into me being able to bring my Canadian sound to Germany. I bent a little bit to sound this pop sort of sound that the Germans were going for with me. I really bent my own abilities towards that pop sound. And eventually, as I started to get a fan base, I started to realize that, hey, I'm still playing acoustic guitar and singing. And my band in Canada doesn't sound like the music that's being produced. And I wanted to sound authentic. I wanted to sound like me. And so I was able to start bringing bandmates from Canada over to Germany. And I was able to have my own shows booked. And I was able to start working with new agents and people that really loved the sound of Canadian singers and songwriters.
Yeah, this is so interesting because just before we started, you mentioned that like you've been going back to Germany twice a year, more or less. How many years has this been going on for, roughly?
I guess it's been going on since 2013, so about 11 years.
What does that kind of look like in terms of when you're going there, places that you're staying, places that you're playing? Are they the same places you're going back to, or are you hitting up different cities?
So now my career in Germany and the Netherlands and Austria and Switzerland and all over Europe is expanding. And I still go back to those places where I first started. And a lot of my fans come from that area. And, but the first time I ever met one of my fans, when I first met Mabel, she was like 17 years old. She was at my little show there in Erla. And now she's married. She has a child. I get to see her every time I'm in the area. We always have a coffee and we chat and we catch up. And she's an older woman now. It's just crazy that I met her when she was so young and so many things have happened in her life. And I'm still going over there playing music and doing the same thing.
This is amazing. I guess you probably would not have imagined this happening when you were in London, Ontario.
No, when I was in London, Ontario, I was really, I always dreamed big. I wanted to see myself on big stages and opening for acts like Bryan Adams and playing in front of big lights and having people screaming out my lyrics and singing along and shouting, the choruses out loud. But I never pictured myself going to Europe. It wasn't really in my trajectory.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back to the Ontario years and then maybe make our way back to the beginnings of music here potentially. So, when did you first start playing music? And then at what point did you start to think that this could become a career for you?
So, I was always playing music since I was a little child. I was brought up in a musical family. My dad played country and western guitar, like Willie Nelson and John Denver and Kenny Rogers. So he was always playing these old songs and like The Gambler at parties. My dad was sort of this quiet entertainer type. And my mom, she was a church choir director. So she was always singing opera at all the funerals and all the weddings, and she would sing on Christmas Eve, Ave Maria. She was quite famous in our church community for her beautiful voice. And of course, because I was the kid, I got all the solos in church. So at 5 years old, I got to sing my first solo, and I can remember it vividly. I just remember being there, feeling very nervous and looking out and seeing all these old ladies in the audience. And while I was singing, I thought, oh, this is really pretty. My voice is coming out so pretty. And I remember looking out, and all the old ladies started weeping and they were crying. And I thought, this is powerful. This voice is making these people cry. This is crazy powerful. And I did feel this God thing flowing through me, like touching these women. And I thought, man, this is such a beautiful thing. And from there, I knew that it was something I really loved and wanted to do forever. And so I took on all the church choir leads. I was dressed up like a hymn book and did all these operettas from the time I was 15 to the time I was 19. I did church camps throughout the summer, and I was always performing music at the camps. But what really the turning point of my own music was I was dating this guy. We were in grade 9, and I accidentally broke up with him. I was like overwhelmed. I was tired one day and I just said, I can't love you anymore. I'm done. And the next day, he was looking at me and he was saying, are you sure you're done? And I said, no, I want you back. Come back. I want you back. And he wouldn't take me back. And so that was my first heartbreak. And that is when the music began, writing music. That's when I started to find my way to the guitar and let all my feelings come out through songs.
Teenage heartbreak. It
Yeah.
definitely leads to creativity, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pen and paper, guitar, you start writing out lyrics and start crafting your own songs. Is that what happened?
Yeah. And I guess before that, some other things happened. Like my mom was also a school secretary, and she would bring home the drums on all the holidays, the school drums. They became our drums. So on all the summer holidays and all the Christmas holidays and Easter holidays, we would have the drums at our house. And I learned how to play drums. And that was my instrument all through high school, drums, percussion. And I also learned how to record music just using a tape deck. The double tape decks where one would play and the other one would record blank tapes. And I learned how to sort of produce as a kid. Nobody taught me anything. I just learned how to do it. So I also played piano. So I learned how to produce drums, piano, and guitar and vocals, and write my own music and produce these songs. And then I won a singing contest, and I actually got to go into a studio and record an entire 6 or 8 song cassette. And then I had a concert at church. I sold a bunch of these cassettes, and it paid my way to go to New Zealand. And in New Zealand, I lived there for a year, which I was supposed to be a student exchange student, which I was not because I never went to school. I played music and I got into a band, and I really learned how to hone my craft.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about New Zealand because Jenna and I spent 9 months in New Zealand. So anybody who spent time in New Zealand, I love talking about that. But I just want to go back for a moment to that feeling you had as a 5-year-old girl and seeing the ladies in church weeping and you having a sense of the power that ignited that feeling within those women. So what exactly did that feel like for you as a 5-year-old? Like what else was going on for you witnessing that?
I felt flushed. I felt vibrating, like nerves, but different. And I felt blessed, like something was going through me and using me. I swear to you, I was only 5 and I felt those things. And when I feel those things now, which I still feel those things, I feel them when I'm writing music. I feel flushed, I feel vibration, and I feel blessed. And these things happen, and it's just this feeling like God is flowing through me, or the universal love is flowing through me, creative magic is flowing through me, and it comes in physical form.
Neat. And when you say you feel vibration, where do you feel that? Is it in your whole body?
For me, it's in my whole body. I feel just this feeling of an earthquake inside me.
Okay. Ooh,
it's really cool.
That's a great line. I love that. So are you getting that when you are writing music or performing, or both?
Usually when I'm writing music. So like right now, I am in a really happy place, and it's hard to write music when I'm in a happy place. And I haven't really felt that vibration in a while. So for me, the vibration, the universal creative, universal energy, it comes to me when I've turned my brain off and I'm just in a totally creative space. That's when it comes.
Yeah, totally. It is so funny how we're much more able to tap into our creative flow or a deeper sense of creativity when we're not in a harmonious place. Isn't that weird?
It's so weird. I'm trying to get there. Like I'm in a good place. I feel like I'm in a creative place. I kind of feel like I live in this creative place. It's like a daydream all the time. Like I just feel always like I'm just in this beautiful flow. But why can't I allow music to come through me as easily as it does as when I'm in pain?
Yeah, I don't know. That is like it's a weird one, but man, I have so many memories of being a depressed, sad teenager and just really letting it flow through poetry. And I don't think I ever wrote great poetry like that ever again. But
well, that means you're living a good, happy life.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So New Zealand. So you, what year roughly are you in New Zealand for a year?
So I think this would have been 98.
98.
98, maybe
Okay.
97. I was 17 17.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't figure it out.
Okay. All right. That's okay. That's okay. So you spent a year in New Zealand. Where did you stay in New Zealand?
I stayed in Auckland.
Mm-hmm.
I had a host family. Unfortunately, the host family didn't work out. Something really strange happened to me there with the host father. And I was unfortunately not safe. And I had to leave. And I found myself sort of just floating around with the bad kids. I found the bad kids that, they like to smoke cigarettes and, get into trouble a little bit. And I loved those misfits. And I found myself traveling around New Zealand, and I went to all the amazing places in New Zealand. I remember traveling in this weird looking van that they drove on the wrong side of the road. And we just went everywhere as a group of kids looking for things to do.
Well, first off, just to go back for a sec, I'm sorry that you had a crappy incident with the host father. That doesn't sound very nice. But it sounds as if you found a bit of your own tribe and people with hanging out with the misfits.
Totally. And I mean, there was a lot of learning experiences there. I was also, at the time, a party girl, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about taking care of myself when nobody else is there to take care of me. So I had to learn some hard lessons, for sure.
Yeah. Did that trip kind of end on a bit of a positive note in the end, like leaving the country?
I made some amazing friends, and in the end, I ended up going to school, and I finished with like the graduating class. I went back to school and took classes and became a bit of a good kid again, and really enjoyed the clique that I made there, this group of friends. We did everything together, and I played music with a lot of them, which was amazing. I made some lifelong friends there, but I did have to get home a little earlier than expected because my sister wasn't well, and we had a very codependent relationship, and I felt like if I went home, it would help her get better. And so I did. I went home early, and it did help her get better.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good positive story.
Yay!
Your sister got better. So you come back to Ontario for family, for your sister, and then what sort of happens around that time for you?
Well, then I had to go back to school. I had to finish my last year of school because obviously I failed big time in New Zealand. I was supposed to go to school, but I got all Fs, which wasn't like me. I was like an A++ student.
Wow.
So I went back to school and I got my final year of school. I finished it. It was very uneventful. I just really focused on school and got it done because what I really wanted to do was go to Royal Military College.
What?
Yes.
Did that happen? You went to Royal?
Did.
Okay. Wait, well, hold on. What was the inspiration for wanting to go to Royal Military College?
Okay, well, my family was pretty poor. We were farmers. My dad could not afford to send us to school. My mom and dad could not afford us to send me to university. He worked at the University of Guelph, so we got free tuition there. That was a huge thing. So I thought either I go to University of Guelph or I go to the military college and I can take my university courses there and get paid and have a career after. And I only have to do it for 9 years. And then I can graduate after 9 years. I can quit and take a pension and have a free life the rest of my life. I thought, this is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to do it because they were asking for well-rounded people, which I thought I had. I had some personality, I had social skills, and I loved school, and I loved sports, and I loved music, and I was good at stuff. I was really good at it. I thought, this is what I want to do. So I got accepted, and I went to Royal Military College. So the summer before, you do basic training, and then you go to university, and you have sort of this mishmash of basic training / university at the same time. It's insane.
How did that suit you? Because, anything in life, we have an idea of what something's going to be like, and then the reality is what was the reality versus your expectations?
Well, to be honest, I loved it. I loved the teamwork. I loved the discipline, the routines. I loved the feeling no man left behind. We were all in this together. I felt so like the camaraderie, the friendships I made, the experiences, the adventures, the sports. I was G.I. Jane, man. That was like my hero, and I got to be her, and I was loving every minute of it until I realized that I was becoming a killing machine. They were training me to kill. I was infantry. They were training me to kill.
Yeah.
And I slept with a rifle.
You slept with a rifle?
Yes.
Okay, why?
It's part of the gig.
Really?
Because if you lose your rifle, you get charged.
What? Okay, so but literally in bed with you is a rifle?
Mm-hmm.
All right. No, that's I haven't heard of that before. That's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you don't think of it because everybody's doing it, and it's a part of the gig. And one day I woke up, I'm like, oh my God, I am being taught how to kill someone and be okay with it. And the brainwashing just stopped. I thought, this is not me. I can't do this. I am really that person that can't kill the spider or a fly if it's in your house. I can't do that. There's no way I could point a rifle at another human or anybody, no matter how much I love people that I was trying to protect. I couldn't do it. And so I was really in this conundrum, and I was talking to, some friends about it. And I think one of my sergeants must have either overheard me or the universe heard me, because my officer in charge, he said, he brought me in and he said, I just want you to know, like, you're doing a good job. You're doing great. You're going to be a great officer here. But I really think you should focus on your music. And he gave me permission. The universe gave me the out. And I left.
Wow.
And I joined a band.
That's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's interesting. Okay, so I'm always really curious about these really pivotal moments in people's lives, and this sounds like one of them for you. When he said that to you in that office, was it this huge weight off your shoulders and you're like, yes, I'm doing this right now? Or did you still have to process it? It took some time, or?
Nope, I was ready to go.
She was ready to go.
I said, see ya, bye. I put my my notice in. I think I had to stay for 2 weeks. Otherwise, it would be not an honorable discharge.
Mm-hmm.
So I put my 2 weeks in some office job and just waited it out. And in 2 weeks, I left. And honest to God, I had a job in a band the next week, and I brought my first $400 in that week.
What?
Yeah.
All right. What was the name of the band?
It was called Big on Venus.
Big on Venus.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. And so, what was your part in that band?
I played guitar and sang, and it was with my my ex-husband, and he was also playing bass guitar and singing. So we also had this sort of famous older guitar player that played in the band as well. So he had a following. So we were able to book shows very easily. And this other older drummer, kind of known in the scene. And so the whole vibe of Big on Venus was 3-part harmony, 4 on the floor, dancey, original music.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All original music.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I mean, in bars and stuff, we would play half and half. We would do like 50% our songs and 50% cover songs.
Yeah.
Like Beatles. I can't really remember what we did, but it was all 4 on the floor. We would make everything dancey.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So how old are you at this point?
I'm still young, like probably 20.
Really young.
Yeah.
Okay. How's this feeling at 20 years old doing this?
Pretty exciting. I mean, my husband at the time, he had proposed to me in the military after the obstacle course run. So after the big, like the end of boot camp, at the end of the boot camp, he was there. He proposed to me.
Whoa.
And so it was like, wow, I'm getting married and I'm in this band now. And I was reunited with my husband, and I was so happy. Everything was going so great. And I was also like discovering things that opened my mind up a little bit, like I was discovering like cannabis, and I was discovering some really cool ways of living free, just looking at the stars at night. And we didn't have a TV, so I enjoyed just meditating and reading and self-help books, and really learning new ways of looking at life and spirituality. I was learning about Buddhism. I had kind of put my Bible down, and I was learning about other spiritual practices, and that was really opening my eyes up to the world and the universe.
Sounds like a pivotal time. Sounds like things are really opening up for you at this
Mm.
time. Out of all those things, like what did you carry forth the most with you of those things that you mentioned into the person you are today, would you say? What was like the thing that that you tapped into at that age that stuck with you?
I think the big thing that it was that my mind had been cracked open. I was no longer closed-minded. So I was pretty open to anything. I wanted to learn. I wanted to soak up every kind of piece of wisdom and knowledge that I found. And I still feel like that today. I'm a kind of a curious kid most days.
Cool. Right
Mm.
on. To curiosity. Excellent.
Yeah.
So how long was this band going for?
Well, we did a couple years together, and eventually my husband and I think we were married for not quite 2 years, and we didn't make it. We just didn't make it. We were young, unfortunately. I loved him so much, but we were just not compatible at all. We went our separate ways, and the band broke up. And from there, I kind of started something else, and it was called Pop Joy. And when I broke up with my husband, I shaved my head and got this massive pink mohawk.
Whoa.
So the sides of my head were shaved, and I had like this massive maybe more than a foot high pink mohawk. And I said, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to like do fun poppy dance songs, cover songs. And I got a really cool band together, and that was my career.
Nice.
Pop Joy.
Okay, not everybody's had a mohawk in their life.
People still know me as the girl from Pop Joy with the mohawk.
Right on. I mean, it's a good thing to be known for sure.
I also had this other really cool thing, which is I would pull my pants down and show a moon at every show.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was really, really like way beyond the times, let me tell you. So I'm happy that I'm more well known for the mohawk than I am for the ass.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Why did I do that? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you do that for a little bit of time, and then like were you enjoying that at the stage of your musical career?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
I was kind of dating this guy and also having little flings with other people, and just like completely free love. Everything was great. I was sober as well. I had gotten sober, and I had just like I was in a really clean state. I was rollerblading every day and exercising and eating, what I thought at the time was healthy. But I remember now it would be like a tube of yogurt, and I would throw some berries in there. That would be my dinner. And then for lunch, I would maybe have some chicken noodle soup. That was my healthiness at the time. And I remember kind of being a bit sickly back then because I was really skinny. And I look back at pictures and I think, wow, yeah, that's a can of soup a day right there, and jumping up and down and smoky bars.
Yeah. It's not a lot of calories in what you just mentioned there.
Yeah. And it would be 4 sets back then, like 4 45-minute sets, jumping up and down, high energy shows, and just like no food. Crazy.
I'm kind of curious as well, too, about people's passion to continue in pursuing the arts, right? So, like, you're still young at mid-20s, just below mid-20s at this point. But did you see yourself at this point continuing to play music for the rest of your life? Where you're like, this is it for me? Or were there any doubts that you had? Or
it was it for me. I knew it. I became a business person right away. I learned how to run the business. I learned how to book shows. I learned how to deal with money. We put ourselves on a salary. I started collecting tax money, I guess GST at the time. I really wanted to make it a business, but then I realized that we could change this cover band into an original band, and we started writing music. We recorded albums. Eventually, Pop Joy became The Joys. We got a little darker. We got a little bit more into some, sex, drugs, rock and roll. And The Joys were an all original band in the end. So that's how the change, it went from Pop Joy, this like fun loving pink mohawk, sober girl, to I became dark haired, a little bit angry, and using substances.
Okay. Just to touch back in with the business side of things again here, did you have any sort of mentors in the business side of things, or what made you decide to really step into that?
To be honest, nobody told me anything about how to run a business, but I think it's sort of in my blood. My grandfather, he had the first Maytag distributor in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So he had like washing machines and dryers, and he was the first distributor in all of Canada to have these Maytag products. And he had a electric store. And so I think this like business sense has sort of been in my family. My mother also owned a business. My brother, he was always a business owner. I think it just ran in my family and in my blood, and I learned how to be an entrepreneur.
That's amazing. So you're almost by osmosis, you're taking this on from family members. But a lot of people struggle with that, though. There's a lot of creative people that don't really feel comfortable doing that, and therefore they don't. But that's amazing that you had the desire to do that.
It was just total drive because I loved being on stage. I loved playing music, and there was no other options for me. I was like, since I was in the military, out of the military, I became a musician. I never had another job. Like,
Really?
there was no way I was going to work a job
Yeah.
after being a musician. Like, seriously, I can't work. I'm completely unemployable at this point. So, I just wanted to keep playing music.
When you talk about loving being on stage, what is it exactly that you personally love about being on stage? How would you put words to that?
Okay, well, back then I loved being on stage. Now it's completely different. Okay. But back then it was about attention. I needed attention. I wanted to feel loved. I was getting all this like applause and validation and love. And I got a lot of friends from it and popularity. And that was why I loved being on stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different now. I am not that person anymore. But that was back then.
It's interesting because I've done a little bit of performing over the years, and I thought initially getting up in front of people, what I would appreciate was the attention. But what I came to realize early on was, I love the fact that I'm on a tightrope, that all of a sudden I've stepped onto this tightrope and I have to get to the other side. And for me, the applause at the end is uncomfortable and awkward. And I just don't like it. And that the real joy comes from the act in the moment and being present with that,
Yeah, I can absolutely understand what you're saying there. I love it. I love that analogy of the tightrope. It is for me a personal challenge. When I go on stage, I am like not comfortable. I'm nervous. I feel like everybody's looking at me, looking through my soul. And if they don't like me, they can make a judgment right then and there and say, I don't like this chick, whatever. I don't care anymore. I don't care what you think. Like, I'm there to prove to myself that I can do this, and that doing it means turning my brain off, turning my hands off, turning my voice off, and just allowing myself to be used. Just use me and let me be of service. That's what I do. Use me, let me be of service, and let me come out of it on the other side and not melt into a little pile of worry at the bottom of the stage. That's like my biggest fear, is that I'm just going to forget everything, forget what I'm doing, because it's happened.
It's happened.
Yes.
What does that moment look like when it happens?
Oh, man. So the first time I was ever in a theater show, I got asked to play in this theater show, a beautiful, beautiful theater in Ontario. And they have this white light, this big white light it's called a spotlight or something. What is it called? Follow spot. Okay. It's on you. And when you're in the follow spotlight, you cannot see anything other than your own soul. You can't see outside the follow spot. So you could only look at yourself. So this follow spot is on me. I feel the audience breathing. I feel their energy. The people on stage with me, they're together with me, and I can feel them around the stage as well. But it's just on me. And so the only person I have to answer to is me. And at that point, I was too scared to even look at myself. And I just remember forgetting everything. I forgot my line. I forgot where I was. I totally blanked out. And thank God my colleague just sort of like bumped me and said my line. Because if they hadn't done that, I would have been standing there just melting into the stage and never to come back again. Scary.
Totally.
Yeah, if I actually think about it, it's scary to think about the responsibility you have on stage and the stress that goes with that. I really honestly have to turn everything off and just surrender every time I'm on stage now. Just surrender, do my thing, and then I'm done. And hopefully somebody was touched by it.
Yeah. I think our general expectation of artists is so ridiculous, is that we show up for a performance as an audience, and there's this high expectation that this performer is gonna play for me because I paid money for them, and the whole human element sort of gets subtracted from the equation. I find it's really weird because the responsibility involved in showing up, being present, giving it your all is a lot to ask of somebody. And especially under circumstances of having to get on a bus, go from one city to another, like no matter how you happen to be feeling that day, the audience doesn't really seem to care that much. That, like how does that feel as a performer to you? Are you aware of that?
I think I sort of prepare myself every single day for that feeling. I try to keep my body in shape. I try to eat well and exercise and meditate and get into a lovely place in my own life. And I think that I have to bring that to every single day of my life. Because if I didn't, that instability would show. And honestly, I love being a screw up on stage. When it happens, I just laugh. The audience laughs. We all laugh. Like, I don't care. I make fun of myself all the time. I don't care. I don't have to be perfect. But what I want to do is make sure that I'm giving my best art every night. And that takes all the preparation of all the other things I do for myself, my body, my mind, my soul, my spirit.
Yeah, that's a lot of foresight, actually, to recognize that that's required to just do a good performance.
I've been the other way. I've been like where I don't give a shit and I just have been destroying myself, my body, like being an addict and just like, a loser. And when I'm on stage, I feel like a fraud and I feel like the audience can see right through the BS and I'm not being authentic. I'm not giving them my art. I'm giving them what I think I should give them.
Yeah. Well, getting back into the point where we jumped out of, but talking about when there was the evolution of that band from going from like a pop sound to more of a darker sound, you said, how long did that period of time last for? And what was the makeup of that band at that point?
So we did have some new band members. The Joys were around for 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a gold record in Canada. We toured all over the country and the States, and we were pretty popular on the indie scene. We had a little bit of radio play and rock radio. We had some grants for videos and some albums out, and we really had a great fan base. People followed us to all these rock clubs, and it was an amazing adventure. We toured around in this big, like, Econoline van, okay? And on the back of the van was attached this big trailer. And that was our van gear. But on the van, it was painted in big bright letters, Fabutan. We got sponsored by Fabutan. And also on the back of the trailer, Fabutan. So everybody thought we were like selling tanning beds or something. So every time we would pull up to a gig, all us white, like totally, tired, hungover rock stars would get out of the car and we'd just be like pasty white, not tanned at all. It was very confusing to people, I think.
Terrible tan, it should say on the van. Terratan. So, well, that's pretty cool. 10 years you were with that band.
Yeah.
Wow.
We wrote some great songs. We were really a band. That's the one thing I miss. The one thing I miss about those years is the band, the sound of a band, where you get together 2 times a week, you write music, you are a band. It's not me bringing my ideas. It's 4 people creating ideas. It was such a unique thing.
What do you miss about that?
I just miss the sound, that it's a different sound. It's a cohesive unit of people that are connected on the same path. And you can't get that being your own self. You can only get your own self's path. When you have 4 people that are on the same path, working towards the same goals, the music comes together, it gels. It's so cool. It's so cool. I just missed that unity, musical unity.
Nice. I just got finished watching the Tragically Hip documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of talk about the idea of being a band, and it was very interesting to hear the behind the scenes of conflict and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
that happened. That it seems like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, like when there are multiple people in a group pulling together for this one goal to create. But it sounds like it was pretty cohesive for you guys.
Yeah, we did have some internal struggles, but mostly we always agreed that everything would be split 5 ways.
Hmm.
We included our manager in our splits. So 4 of us band members and our manager, we split everything 5 ways. We split all the profits and all the disasters. So we were in this together.
Nice.
And even like, I think even the songs, we even put our manager in there as well as a songwriter. We just like, we knew his part was such an integral part of our lives. Without him, we wouldn't have been playing all these shows, and we wouldn't have been, he set us up as a business as well. And he taught us how to do a lot of things like grant writing and, how to get a gold record in Canada and all these amazing things that we learned from this manager. He was a big, big part of our career.
Wow, I've never actually heard that. So
Mhm.
splitting the money equally with the manager as well too. That's that incentivizes everybody to try a little harder, I would think.
Yeah, we were all like just pushing hard. We were pushing hard. We were hungry. We were eager. We felt like we had something magical, and we all worked our butts off.
Yeah. How did that wind up fading out eventually?
I think it had to do a lot with the lifestyle. The lifestyle kind of took over the music. So we were just like this partying rock band. And we went to all the parties after the shows. We stayed up late. We hardly slept. We were on the road a lot. Our relationships were failing. People's wives were leaving them. We were losing our homes. It was just a disaster. And eventually we just said, hey, I think we should probably take a break and take care of ourselves. And one of the biggest things that happened was during the recording of our last album. After a 6-week tour, we parked ourselves in Winnipeg in this mansion and wrote our entire album and then recorded it, I think, in 2 weeks. And at the end of that 2 weeks, the final recording was done and we were just all in party mode. We were like celebrating, like, let's go get wasted. But it was 2 a.m. And so where do you go at 2 a.m. in Winnipeg that's any good?
I don't know. Where do you go?
Well, we found this one bar that was open and we went there and it just was like scary vibes all around. And I said to the guys, like, let's just make friends with this table because if we don't make friends with the table, we're maybe going to get killed. So we made friends with this table and they said, hey, do you mind giving us a ride? I said, no problem. We'll give you a ride. After we have a couple shots, we'll give you a ride back to wherever you have to go. Anyway, long story short, I got hijacked with the van with these 3 women. The guys had stopped to go pee along the route. And as soon as they got out of the van, I got knocked out and they stole the van with me in it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. They went for a joyride with me in the car, crashed all the windows out of the van. Everything was destroyed in the van. And we pulled up to this like co-op housing and they were yelling like, we're going to kill this BITCH because you killed our brother. They were yelling that at the top of their lungs.
Yeah.
And I was the one that they were going to kill.
So you'd come to at this point?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So I was in the middle of this square and they were just beating me up. And I'd never been in a fight in my life. I have no idea how to fight. And if you want to beat anybody up, beat me up because I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to like turtle and let you beat me up. To be honest, I just don't want to fight back. And I turtled and I just let them beat me up. And at the end of it, I somehow tackled the girl. I got my keys out of her hand because she was going to go and take my van. That van was my life. Fabitan van. It was my life. So I tackled her. I got those keys and I ran and I started knocking on people's doors, but nobody was answering because it was that kind of a place where if you answer, you might get hurt.
Sure, yeah.
But eventually somebody grabbed me into their house, called the cops. And that woman ended up getting the main woman ended up getting charged with attempted murder.
Holy smokes.
I made the front news of like all like CBC, CTV, like, you know, the Joys lead singer, you know, left to die.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
So
that was honestly the turning point of my darkness. Like I went really dark after that. I really did. I don't know what is in the psyche of a near-death experience, but you know, the substance abuse went up higher, and my risk taking went up higher. I wanted to do more risky stuff. It's such a weird thing, and that was sort of. I think that I was kind of the demise of the Joys because of this crazy behavior I started doing.
okay. Did you at that point try to seek any counseling, or were you just like self-medicating most of the time, or?
Definitely self-medicating, definitely trying everything I could to talk to therapists. I did take therapy. I talked to therapists, 2 different therapists. I wasn't covered with therapy in my relationship that I was with, but I remember going to like the free therapy, and it did help, but I was not ready at all to quit using. And so I started like trying to get sober. I'd already been sober in my life. I knew about recovery. Remember before in Pop Joy, I had been sober for 8 years.
Wow.
Well, 7.5 years I had been sober. So I already knew that it existed, but I was not at all ready. I would get like a week here and there. I would even go back to meetings, and I even got 1 year at one point of sobriety, but I could not continue. Like I just couldn't find my way. And I was in a relationship that was also a bit toxic, and it's really hard to be, you know, it's hard to get clean and sober when somebody that you're with isn't clean and sober either.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was just a really hard time.
Yeah, this sounds really intense. And you're okay talking about this?
If you're okay to put it on.
I'm more than okay to talk about it, but I just want to be like ultra sensitive about what I ask, and so, like I'm just checking in with you to make sure it's okay.
No, I'm totally good. Like my whole life has changed. So
Yeah.
you know, that was like such a dark time for me. But a lot of great songs. A lot of great songs came out of it. It's so weird.
Yeah. You know. So what age are you at this point?
I'm like probably, I guess, mid-30s.
Mid-30s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's interesting to hear about a like a full year of sobriety as well too in the mix, right? Did things during that year were they good, or was it still pretty arduous?
It was so hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard. I think like I felt like I had made some friends in the program, and I had started like getting them to come out to my shows to show their support. But I remember at some points I had fallen off the wagon, and I was drinking whiskey out of a coffee cup, just pretending that I was drinking coffee at my shows. It was like straight whiskey. And I mean, I'm sure they smelt it on my breath that I wasn't drinking coffee.
Yeah.
You know, I was just really trying to put the cover up that I was sober, and I was yet struggling so hard. I couldn't stay sober.
Yeah. Just to give you a little perspective, this this does not match your story at all, but just in the last 3 months I haven't drank at all. And just going through a bit of a break from it and realizing, whoa, I've been drinking very continuously since I was 17, right?
Oh.
And what I've found is how difficult it was in the first week or 2, because I'd think about it every day and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have beer. Oh yeah, right, I can't have beer right now. And then I've really started to notice as the weeks have gone on, it's just like, you know, starting off on a hard gear on a bike. It's hard at first, but once you get going, right? And then it's no problem right now. But for yourself, did you find like there was a lot of starts and stops? Was it difficult to stay going? Like,
yeah, I think it was really difficult to stay going for me because I had so many temptations. I had built this like lifestyle. So my neighbors were supplying me with whatever I wanted. My fans were buying me shots. My whole life revolved around the party.
right.
And so it was super hard. I just could not stay sober. I would wake up every day saying, today's the day I'm not going to do this anymore. And by, 4 p.m., I'd be making the calls. I just couldn't stay sober. Like I have never had a pull on my soul the way that lifestyle pulled on me.
Yeah, well, that's really got to be super difficult as well too, right?
Mhm.
Like that, like having like a congratulatory shot bought for you, right? Like, oh, I'm
But then
sorry, I can't do.
then it wakes up the beast inside, and it's like I started like as a typical person that would have a few drinks here and there or a few puffs or whatever it was, and I ended as somebody that couldn't go a day without using hard.
And so the demise of the band is imminent at this point. And then what wound up happening in the next year or two as this was progressing?
So, I guess at the beginning of like the first 4 years of my solo career was still sketchy. I was just playing bars and doing my best to stay sober and couldn't stay sober. That was a really big thing in my life, was this yin and yang, this teeter-tottering, this in between sobriety and not sobriety. When I was sober, I was like working hard and doing great. And when I wasn't sober, I was pretending that I was. So it was just this double-edged sort of a life. Anyway, the thing that happened was that I had built up a pretty good fan base in my hometown, and I was having a CD release party, and I had a sold out show, like 350 people. It was packed, and I was playing like with this amazing band, and all my dreams were coming true. And I was on that stage that night, not in the right mind. I was completely, screwed up. Like I was using, I wasn't myself. I was really a fraud. I remember standing on that stage thinking, oh, look, I'm just going to pretend I'm happy, but really right now inside I'm like completely in pain. This is awful. And I did the show, and after the show, all my friends got together at a house party to celebrate me and my amazing sold out show. And I just stayed in the parking lot in my car that night. I didn't go into the party, and I was just like partying by myself. And it was that night that I decided this is going to be the last time I ever do this ever in my life, ever again. And the next day I woke up and I just quit everything. I quit smoking. I quit drugs. I quit drinking. I quit like random weird sex stuff. And I quit meat all in the same day.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I haven't done any of it since.
What?
Yeah.
How did you accomplish that exactly?
It's called a bottom. And like all my substances were all rolled up into one big bottom. I was just so sick of being this demon inside of me that I'm not that person. I was raised in the church by a good family. Not that I would not say I'm a Christian right now. I would say that I definitely have massive beliefs and a beautiful spirit, but the Christian religion is not something I really, follow. If I don't know how to explain it. My mom would be so sad if she hears that, but I've got my own beliefs, but it was all rolled into one big bottom where my soul was dead. I was dark. I was this person that I never thought I would become. And my conscience just told me, like, you're better than this. You're better than this. You have to become different if you're going to succeed in life. I just knew that the bottom was, if I didn't stop now, it would be death. I was on my way.
Did you seek out any support like after you made that decision to help you at all?
I went to, recovery meetings every single day. They say to go every day for 90 days. And I kind of made it a bit of a part-time job, and I went sometimes twice a day. And I started doing, studying the recovery meeting. They have something called the Big Book. I started studying the Big Book and really learning what my problem was, that I have this like weird disease and my brain is shaped differently than most people maybe. And so I also went through therapy as well, some extensive therapy. I also really leaned into yoga, spirituality, meditation was a huge thing. I started like meditating, just setting the clock for 1 minute after my yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And in that minute, just laying there and trying to not have thoughts. And eventually I would like breathe it out. I would make it 2 minutes, breathing, try it and have no thoughts. 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. And eventually I was doing like 15, 20 minutes of meditation a day and praying and just saying like, show me the way, show me how I can be a better person. Like use me, build me, take with me as you will and guide me into being your servant, universal love, like show me the way. And I was shown the way. I swear to you, I had the courage to leave a toxic relationship. I had the courage to love someone new again. I had the courage to live a completely different life, completely different. No more parties, no more craziness. I don't do any risky, crazy things anymore. All this impulsivity, all these things that were making me happy never made me happy anymore. I found like joy in normal, regular things like washing dishes.
Oh, washing dishes on a cold winter's
I
night.
know.
That hot soapy water.
Right.
It's satisfying.
Exactly. It is.
It totally
Having a
is.
shower, like petting a dog. Like I never really was a dog person. I had dogs and I thought I was a dog person. No. Now I'm a dog person.
Yeah.
I am like on the ground, getting hairy, loving them up. Like I never would have let hair on my clothes. Now I'm just all about those beautiful moments in life that I'm just so blessed to have.
Rubbing your face with a dog's face.
Yes.
Oh, one of the best experiences ever. Yeah, gotta get in there. Gotta get in there for that dog love. Love those dogs. Well, so that's amazing. Like the amount of support that you sought out along the way. Obviously, you can't know in retrospect, but without all that support about going to meetings sometimes twice a day and having therapy, do you think that you would have made it?
No, I would not have made it. And I knew that what I had to do, I think all those years of teeter-tottering, going off and on and the wagon, it made me realize what I had to do. A lot of people experiment, they'll like myself, I'll only drink beer, or I'll only have light beer, or I'll only drink vodka straight, or I'll only drink Jaeger. Jaeger was my thing. Only Jaeger tonight. See how that goes. So I'll only drink. I got into scotch there at the end. Only scotch. Just see how experimentations would work for me and if I could somehow control it. But in the end, I just kept failing and nothing was controllable. And so it was a complete surrender, a surrender like, hey, it's, that word surrender makes it sound like you're like powerless, like you have no power. But when you do surrender, that's when all the power comes. You realize how powerful you really are.
Yeah, I really like the word surrender. I forget it actually sometimes and like it's come back into my vocabulary recently, and I think the word surrender is a great one because yes, of course it's associated with giving up, right? But just like you're saying, I don't see it like that. I see it as you're letting go. You're giving in to something greater than yourself and allowing that greater source to kind of spill into you.
Bingo. It's totally what it is. And that inside work, that inside work of surrendering and getting to that point where it's humbling. It's humbling, right? You're humbling yourself like, hey, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what to do here. I'm just going to give up in a loving way and just give it to something greater than myself and just please give me the answers. It's a beautiful thing. And I still do it all the time.
Yeah. So how many years ago was this that the turnaround happened?
It's only 8 years and it feels like a lifetime. Like I am such a different person now than I was then. I don't even recognize that person I was then. That I'm sure you hear this all the time from people. Like there's like a rebirth in people. I don't know how many times. I bet you there's some sort of statistic. Like there's 3 rebirths in people in a lifetime. I don't know. But for me, this was the rebirth where the snake skin I had completely shed and I became something else.
What did you become? What would you say you became?
Jeez. Light.
Good word. You became light. Lovely. I want to just touch back in before I forget, because you mentioned a couple times of using the phrase "use me," and so when you say "use me," are you referring to the universe, God? Who do you want, or what do you want to use you?
I do. I guess I do call it God. And to me, God is this like vibrant energy of universal love. It's like source energy. It's the energy that's floating around us at all times, but it's that flowing, beautiful light energy. And I just want that to flow through me and through all my guts and my blood and through all my bones and just come out of me like light and somehow heal people. But it's not me doing it. It's this beautiful energy that is around us that's flowing through me doing it.
Right. Yeah, you're like a conduit.
That's maybe what it is. That's what I would hope for, I think.
Yeah. So how did this change with your career and with music and everything once you went into sobriety and you became light?
Well, I took myself out of the equation. So it's no longer like this ego fulfilling thing. It's more, I mean, I definitely need to have ego to be a lead singer standing on a stage. Something is keeping me there. I'm not just like running around going, save me, get me off this stage. I'm somehow being able to stay there. So that's like the ego being firm in its place. But I think that the songs are more about, not about me as much anymore. It's not about me and what I'm missing and what I need and what I desire and what all these songs were about. It's more about like how I can help the greater good, how I can somehow bring answers through music. I really feel like music has so many beautiful, beautiful answers in it. And sometimes these answers come out through my songs and I have nothing to do with them. Like that vibration thing happens and holy shit, like there's this beautiful thing coming out like, wow, I can't believe that just came out of my mouth.
Really?
Yes, a lot. And I'm also writing with other people, which is huge. It's kind of like your legacy thing. I get to write with other people. Like a friend of mine, Ed, he just passed. He took Maid, he took Maid and before he died, I wrote his song for him and he got to play it at his funeral before he died.
What? Wow.
Yeah. And it's called There You Found God. And it's this beautiful song. And I got to write that with him. I get to write people's songs, people that have lost children, people that have had miscarriages, people that have this pain and they don't know what to do with it. Music gives them an answer. And I somehow get to do that with people.
Could you describe that a little bit more? How does this process work?
So it all happened during COVID because we all had to figure out what to do. So I was bored and I said, if anybody has like a poem hiding in their baby book, or like if you've written something that you think is a song, but you have never put it to music, like let me be your person. So I got all these people sending me their lyrics and their poems and their stories, and other people would just tell me stories about what they've gone through or people they've lost or whatever. They would talk to me and I would write songs for them. It would just come out.
Amazing.
Yeah. So then I thought, well, I can probably make this into somewhat of a gift for people and to help me as well. So when I'm not on the road, I'm not touring, I have something to do rather than just sitting in my pajamas all day and doing dishes, right? Which is also great.
And petting dogs.
Yes.
Petting dogs.
So in the winter, I really focus on these songwriting projects. And then I don't have to talk, I don't have to write songs coming out of my own happiness because nothing comes out of me when I'm happy. So instead, I get to like put myself in other people's shoes and write songs with them.
Oh, amazing. Are these songs just strictly for the individual? Are you recording them as well too, or?
So there's like different price points, I guess. If you hire me to write you a song, you get a full on like acoustic demo with me singing the song, and that's yours to do whatever you want with it. If you want me to release it, I will. If you want it to be private, it's yours to keep forever. And then sometimes, most of the time, people love it and they want it to be fully produced. So then they get their song fully produced in the studio. And then at that point, they love it so much they want it to be a music video. So then we make a music video, and it's just like this beautiful creative thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like there's so much opportunity for beautiful connection with people while you're going through this process.
I can't even tell you how this happened and how much joy it brings to me, and I think to the people involved. One of the most recent ones I did was for this beautiful friend of mine, Christy. She lost her son at 27 years old. He died of drug poisoning, okay? And she herself was an addict who got clean. She was the first person on Intervention Canada.
What is Intervention Canada?
Do you know Intervention, the show?
No.
There's a TV show called Intervention where they come in and they tell the story of the drug addict, and they show them using drugs and stuff. And in the end, the family gives them an intervention.
Okay.
And they go and get recovery. And like 9 times out of 10, they are successful in their recovery. So she was on the first Intervention Canada, and she's been sober ever since. And then there's her son, who was also teeter-tottering in sobriety, just like her, just like me. And he didn't make it, 27 years old. How, as a mother, do you deal with this pain, this guilt, and all the things that go along with it? And then how do you help other mothers going through the exact same thing? You know, there's a huge epidemic right now.
Yeah.
Like, so many people are overdosing. And so, you know, Christy called me and she said, can you write a song for my son, Austin? And I decided that it should be a song about connecting us all. Instead of, you know, I try not to make songs sad and painful. I want them to have some sort of a beautiful message that we can have hope and inspire other people, right? And so we wrote this song called We Are Loved. And this song got picked up on CBC. It's been played quite a bit. We did a music video for it. We actually did it here on Pender Island.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, with that, it's a whole snowball effect. It just gets spread around and it touches so many different people. We got to use photos of 50 other children that have passed of this disease. And each parent told me their story of their kid. And I got to hear these beautiful stories and connections. And it's just absolutely what life is about. Connection, it's strength through pain. It brings us together.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty wild. You know, it's interesting the twists and turns in our lives and the places we arrive at. And I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have imagined yourself doing a project like this in the past, right?
No way, man. And I sometimes feel like I don't know why I'm one of the lucky ones that got the gift of sobriety, because there's so many people that I know and love that are not.
Mm-hmm.
And that are still going through their journey and that might not make it, you know? So I feel so grateful for where I'm at. And I know that I have some sort of job to do here that is based on that.
Yeah. I'm so curious as well, too, about the different kinds of people and the different life circumstances that they have and them reaching out to you about creating a song. It sounds as if it's probably pretty diverse.
Yeah, I think it's like, it tends to be topics or people's life stories that are so hard to talk about. The only answer is music. Like, I really am not a great communicator in life. You can ask my wife. I'm not the best, but I can sing. And a lot of people feel that music is their way of showing how they feel as well. You know, there's some people that you'll never see them cry. You'll never see them break tears, but you put on a song after their parents pass or something, and they're going to be bawling their eyes out to that song.
Right.
Music really does affect so many people.
Yeah. What a beautiful gift. What a beautiful gift to be able to share with people. That's amazing. Seriously, like I did not know this at all. I'm really blown away. I'm like, this is incredible. This is so lovely.
It also gave me like great purpose during COVID. It gave me a bit of an idea of what I can do in my life that's not touring. I always thought I would just be a touring artist for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But you know, I love living on this beautiful island, and the more time I get to spend here, the better for me. So this is such a beautiful gift for me too, to be able to be at home.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting story in your life about why you moved to Pender. So I'm not totally clear on this. We briefly talked about it when you first arrived, but what was the big reason for making the move from Ontario, where you lived your whole life, to Pender Island recently?
Okay, so I've always been sort of, I guess I'm ADD. And whatever the heck that means, I don't know, but I've always had to be busy. I've always wanted a challenge. And COVID took away all my gigs. And I was left looking into outer space going like, what am I going to do with my life? And my buddy called me and he said, hey, we're buying a school bus. Do you and Leslie want to buy a school bus and make a tiny house with us? And so we were like, heck yeah, I can build the bus like every day. Like I'll just learn all about tools and like how to do things. Like, yeah, I can do this. So we went and bought our bus. My buddies bought a bus and we bought a bus and we parked our buses at the same place. And I went to work, and it was like 2 months straight every single day. I didn't even think about COVID. I just worked. It was in the kind of getting into the dark winter months, and I was working really hard on this bus. And everything was stripped. It was all the rust was gone off of it. It was sort of ready to put everything in. Like we had already bought all the flooring and all the stove, and like everything was ready to go. And Leslie came home from work one day, and her role had been eliminated. She was definitely the breadwinner at this point, and it was freaking scary. And that night, online on Facebook, one of our friends said, oh my God, you guys, I just bought $1 million home in Souk, BC, and I need somebody to run an Airbnb for us until I can move out there in 6 months. Leslie and I looked at each other. We said, let's go to BC. So we packed up. We went to BC. We actually sold our house. We did everything. We sold our house in a month, shipped our cars, and shipped all our stuff there. Within a month, we were living in Souk in this basement of this mansion, taking care of this person's Airbnb. Oh my God. And anyway, we were really wanting to find a place to put our bus. And we started researching areas in Vancouver Island to put our bus, but we felt like the properties were too expensive for us at the time. Coming from Ontario, we didn't get that much for our house. And I mean, we could have bought maybe in Nanaimo, but I just didn't want to be all the way over there, you know? And Leslie said, okay, listen, when I was 20, I lived on Pender Island for a summer. And she goes, let's go over there. Let's check it out. So we went over to Pender Island one weekend, and we were coming here to find a place to put our bus, which, by the way, we had titled Trust the Ride.
Ooh,
that was the name of our bus
beautiful
project.
Name.
Yeah.
Beautiful name.
And so we got here, and I stepped off the ferry onto Pender Island, and I just said, Leslie, I want to live here the rest of my life. And she goes, I knew it. I knew you were going to love it, because she had been here, right? She knew the vibe on Pender. And we drove around. We had set up like 4 different spots to look at places that we were going to buy for our bus. And we drove past this one house, and we stopped, and we said to our agent, can we stop here? This is a really nice place. And we got out, and our dog jumped out of the van and went right to the front yard and took a big dump. And he never, ever poos when he's on the road.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's only at home pooer.
It's a sign.
It was a sign.
Yeah.
And there was also some really cool little like a hummingbird came, and that was Leslie's symbol of her mom that had passed was a hummingbird. Hummingbird had come. There was little blue flowers on the grass, and that represented something else of Leslie's. And we just said, you know what? Let's put an offer on this house. Let's buy this house. Screw the bus. So yeah, we put an offer on. Our offer was accepted, and we moved here. Leslie got a job working remotely for her bank out of Sydney, and I did nothing. But we moved here and restarted.
So you came off the ferry and immediately you said, I want to spend the rest of my life here?
I swear to you, I did.
Wow.
The vibe here, it sucks you in. And there's a pull. And every single person I've talked to that's moved to Pender tells me that. And people that come to visit us always are looking at real estate.
Yeah.
They always want to move here. There's a pull for this place, but most people aren't crazy enough to live on an island. But I am.
Yeah.
So's Leslie. And so are you.
So am I. I know there's something special about living on an island. I think a great feature about living on an island is the fact that there's no drive-through traffic. You have to pay to get here, and then it just kind of really creates a pretty predictable environment rather than any other place in Canada where people are going to be coming and going, trucks are coming and going, and this and that. Like I love that aspect.
I love being surrounded by ocean, just like surrounded, like you're plopped in the middle of an ocean, and everywhere, every road you turn, right or left, you're going to end up at the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is amazing. I mean, I came from Ontario, man. Like, I love Ontario. I go there all the time. I love the lakes in Ontario. That was always the selling feature for me, those lakes. And now I'm just surrounded by water everywhere I go here. It's incredible. And the little forest walks and the privacy and the quietness and the darkness at night. And it's just like old school community vibes. Everything here is what I need. We were so lucky to sell our bus. We sold our bus to a beautiful couple who's finished their bus. They're called Juke the Bus. And they're living in their bus. They did an amazing job of everything with their renos. You should check them out. Okay. Juke the Bus.
Juke the Bus?
Yeah.
All right. I'll check that out.
Yeah,
for
check
sure.
it out. They're doing awesome.
Nice. Just going to wind it down in a little bit here. But before we wind it down, thank you so much for being open and sharing all the things that you did tonight, sincerely. And I think it's very brave and very honest to share all those things. So really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Thanks for listening. And I'm sorry if I was like not PG enough. No. I honestly just forget that this is my life. So I'm just telling you my story. And I honestly forget that some people have never lived this kind of life. So
no, I think it's totally fine. Well, one question I wanted to ask you, I was thinking of some questions today. One thing I wanted to know was that, is there a lyric to one of your songs that you wrote in the past that has changed its meaning for you? And when you're singing it live, it's got a completely different meaning than it did in the past?
There's just this one line. There's this song called The Stars. And it was sort of my first song that I co-wrote for my first solo album, The Stars. Okay. And to me, it was a Thelma and Louise love song, you know, where they're holding hands when they drive over the cliff together and they die together. That was sort of the whole vibe when I wrote the song. But now the song means so much more to me. The chorus is, you know, the white lines and past lives. The stars will lead us home. The stars will lead us home to me now means that destiny will unfold. Whereas before it meant that we were just going to like die and like drive over the cliff into the stars. You know, now it's more about that destiny will unfold and will show us the way. Just let go of the reins.
Yeah. That was some good advice. It's good advice for us all. Really let go of the reins. Hey, any last words you want to share with people to end off this podcast interview, Sarah? Anything you want to say?
Thank you.
Wow, what an absolute treat that was to interview Sarah. I super appreciated having that time spent together doing that recording. And man, it's just such a gift and an honor to get to sit down with people. I just finished doing the edit on it, and I'm recording this after re-listening to the interview. And yeah, anyway, I feel really fortunate to have these experiences that I've had with guests in the past. And Sarah's no exception. What an incredible person who's filled with such vibrant energy. It's pretty rad. If you want to know more about Sarah's music or the service that she's providing that she spoke about in the podcast about recording personalized songs for people, you can go to her website, which is sarahsmithmusic.com, and find probably anything you're looking for there related to Sarah Smith. I want to thank you very much for showing up for this podcast and staying around to the end to listen to this. It's an honor that people do. So thank you for that. I want to thank Ben McConkey for providing the theme music to this podcast. And seeing how this is just before Christmas, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Until next time.